Tomorrow is opening day. Don't let them fool you out here, Joe Ranieri. Don't let the people fool you that, no, Donnie and Joe, last week was opening day in the Seoul series between the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. We've already forgot about in that series overall. Tomorrow, the official start of opening day for Major League Baseball, and we're going to have some fun setting up some of these primers. But I do think the best way to start here is take that overall preview. We'll take a look at some of these divisions and some of the favorites to win it, but let's take a look at those World Series odds. Obviously, all throughout the winter here, the Dodgers went out, spent money. Shohei Ohtani, multiple pitchers, bullpen help. I mean, heck, they even got Mookie Betts playing shortstop now because they're so talented around the diamond. They're just trying to get the best bats in the lineup and say, you know what? Even if we make a few errors here, it doesn't matter. We'll put up 7 runs a night. They're a plus 320 price right now to win the World Series at the FanDuel Sportsbook, followed by the Atlanta Braves at a plus 450 price. Teams under 10-1 also include the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees. So we'll start here. Is it just so easy that why even going to play the Major League Baseball season, Joe? It's just going to be the Dodgers at the end. Save your money and just bet the Dodgers and everything that goes along with them.
Well, I mean, that's at this point in the season, yes, it is that easy. But, you know, the reason that you continue to follow it, watch it, and bet it is because you have teams like the Marlins, who are World Series champions, the Texas Rangers, who have been World Series champions, where the small market teams are always, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. Major League Baseball is a very unique sport in that way, where you can have a, $250 million payroll. Doesn't mean you win in squat. But at this point in the season, those teams usually take shape and get better as the year goes on. There is no way any of us were looking at Texas last year. What were we, Donnie, at this point in the year going, the Rangers, don't sleep on the no. At this point, it's the level of talent. We had Craig Mish on yesterday, in fact, and I thought he said it perfectly. Listen, if Ohtani even misses a couple of games, does it really make a difference? They're a 103-win team right now. What are they going to win? 99 games, 98? So talent is what it's all about at this point in the season.
And particularly, Joe, as you know, like the talent in the regular season, right? The question is, can that talent rise up in a short series in October?
Right.
But for the April, May, June, July, August, throughout the summer, every single day the Dodgers take the diamond. They're the best team on the diamond. They are going to crush teams left and right here. Yes, they will. You lose their fair share of games. We're not talking, it's a 162-game schedule. The Dodgers team total is at 153.5. They're going to lose games, but every night where you say, like, okay, is this the night I'm going to take the dog price against the Dodgers? Then the Dodgers release that lineup and you go like, all right, I might keep it moving here. I don't know if I want to take that plus 300 price here because, my goodness, look what the Dodgers have out there. But it's such a hard obstacle just mentally in the regular season to bet against them. But quite frankly, the way they line up in the playoffs, we know it's all about pitching. If you have a hot 1-2 punch in the lineup going against the Dodgers, they might be able to stem the tide, and we'll see how that breaks down. But certainly regular season heavy favorites here. Let's take a look at some of these divisions here. The AL East. Yankees, Orioles, Jays, Rays, and Red Sox in that order. The Yankees are a plus 165 to take down the AL East. The Orioles, a 2-1 price, who had a fantastic season last year, hoping to build on that. The one thing I still can't get over in my mind is the Boston Red Sox are a 19-1 price, not to win the World Series, to win their own division, basically falling by the wayside and saying, you know what? We have a massive following here. We'll fill that ballpark up. Why should we spend any money? We'll just pocket everything to maybe buy another EPL soccer team at this point. But for the AL East, is it the Yankees in a runaway here, or do you see the Toronto Blue Jays, Rays, or maybe the Orioles stepping up here and overtaking the Yanks this year?
Well, much I think, like you said, with the Dodgers, right? As long as the Dodgers are on the field and they can field 9 guys, they're going to have a chance to win, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to say the same thing with the Yankees because the Yankees, although there are plenty of question marks on the pitching side, starting pitching side, and you lose your ace and Cole, that's never a good situation. But ultimately, you win games by scoring more runs than the other team, and the Yankees are absolutely loaded. So I get it. Yankees going to every scene expecting to win, and it usually doesn't end in great fanfare at the end. But I don't understand as value goes. I don't understand why nobody's talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, who have consistently showed that you may not have heard of any of these players, but their farm system is top-notch. and the way they go about business in a 162 game season, Donnie, proves to be very profitable. Look at their win totals over and to bet them in a lot of situations. Let's not forget, nobody talked about them this time last year, and then they rattled off an unbelievable April and May that pretty much carried them the rest of the year once the injuries started to pile up there. So I can't sleep on the Tampa Bay Rays here. I don't know why the market continues to do so.
Yeah, you take a look at the Rays, too, because it just feels like, most people say, well, they lose some superstar players. They lose superstar players every single year and continue to retool and have 10 guys that seem to come up from AAA that throw 100 miles an hour out of that bullpen here. It's just how they operate. But also, if you take a look at run scoring in this division, outside of Tampa, which is a tough place to score runs, they have hitter-friendly ballparks all across. And you called it out here. That Yankees lineup 1 through 9. Torres, Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Verdugo, Volpe, Cabrera, and Trevino anticipated to be their 1 through 9. If they stay healthy in those smaller ballparks, they are going to be able to do some damage, and rightfully so about some of those MVP odds. Let's take a look at the AL Central. One of those divisions is like, okay, let's just pass by. Great. One team will win the division. They'll get smoked in round 1 of the playoffs. The Twins are the favorites here at a minus 130 price, followed by the Guardians, Tigers, Royals, and the White Sox. The one, again, where I look at the last place teams. 2 years ago, if you would have told me the White Sox would be 65-1 to win the AL Central, I'd say you out of your mind. They're probably minus 180 or minus 200 with all that talent. Rebuilding that White Sox team is crazy with all the talent they had, and they're expected to do absolutely nothing this year in the AL Central.
Yeah, it's such a brutal. It feels like a coin flip. And when you look at the roster and the pitching, if we should have learned last year, if you don't recall, it wasn't a lot of big names, Donnie, but that Minnesota starting pitching and that bullpen and middle relief were absolutely tremendous. And they played small ball really well. That was a very, very good baseball team that was underrated. Can they do that again this year? Sure, because mostly that middle relief and back end of the bullpen, pretty much the same. They were never going to blow you away with their starting pitching. But it's some of the other teams are getting all the love right now, like Detroit, expecting a big improvement from them. And what about the Royals, who have now lost over 100 games, I think, 106 last year? They have lost, it feels like, 100 games over the last 3 out of the last 4 or 5 years here outside of the COVID year. But a lot of people are putting some money on the Royals here, thinking that this is going to be a really, really good team. They locked up Witt, right? And when is the last time you saw the Royals spend money to lock up a superstar? So maybe the tides are turning here in Kansas City because it's a mediocre division with a lot of mediocre teams.
It's funny you bring up there because I do like the young starting pitching that the Royals have, but also their 1 through 9. Garcia, Witt Jr., Pasquantino, Vinny out there but dropping bombs in that 3 spot. Salvador Perez, the ageless catcher here, doing damage. Up and down their lineup, they have talent, but I thought you hit the nail on the head. They're spending money now, and you say, well, why all of a sudden the Royals spending money? They're trying to curry favor with actually getting a new stadium deal, so showing their fans that they're invested now. You want to get ahead of that curve, which you would be if you bet the Royals, because if they're somewhat in it midway, Joe, they're going to add to their talent base as opposed to being the minor league franchise for everybody else building their rosters for a playoff run. So it's a good point you bring out here. AL West, Astros, Rangers, Mariners, the top 3 there, all close here. Minus 115 for the Astros, the Rangers plus 210, and the Mariners at a 3-1 price to win the West. Bottom feeders, we probably anticipate the Angels and the Athletics. But that's a great 1-2-3 punch here in the West.
Yeah, don't sleep on the A's. No, okay, pass out on the A's because they're awful.
Sleep on
and
them.
So are the Angels. Yeah, I don't know what to make of Seattle, given the fact that it seems that the ownership group from the top there has pretty much sent message after message that they're not really investing in talent enough to want to consider them. Now, the Marlins didn't do that for how many years, and they ended up winning two World Series, So, Texas last year took all the money they had, put it in the middle of the table, and went out to try to buy themselves a championship. And guess what? It worked. The interesting thing about the Rangers is I think they're a fade team early, and then when the pieces start rolling back in, you kind of can't ignore them. I hope they do. I hope they fall flat on their face early, Donnie, so I can jump in on the Rangers come June. And that's what I am hoping for here, because the amount of artillery they have coming back after the All-Star break should make you wonder a little bit if this team can't make another run.
Hey, by the way, shout out the Angels, too, who had probably a once-every-50-year player. Oh, man, they probably rebuilt their whole farm system. New starting pitchers, a couple starters in the lineup. What a great trade by the Angels. Let him walk for maybe the 35th overall pick as a compensatory pick. Congratulations, Angels. That's not the way you run your business here. The way you run your business is what the NL East teams are doing, particularly with the Atlanta Braves, a minus 280 price here to win that division. For me, I'm a Phillies fan. You know I am. But the best team year after year that you just look at the lineup with basically no holes, it's always the Atlanta Braves. It's just that the Phillies play good baseball for 3 weeks in September and stay hot into October and don't take that 5-day bye that you see now in Major League Baseball, which allows the Phillies to knock off the Braves. Is it simple here in the East here to take a look at the Braves, minus 280, Phillies plus 280, then the Mets, Marlins, and Nationals bring up the rear at 13-1, 35-1, and 120-1 on the Nationals.
Yeah, well, so I'm fading a number of these teams in this division here. The only two that I'm not are the Phillies and the Braves. So take your pick out of those two there. And ultimately, I think it's rinse and repeat for don't think about the Phillies, Donnie, until what? About end of June, July? Because that's usually when they start to figure it all out. So the Phillies are a fade early. The Braves are going to be consistent. They're going to be a 100-win team this year. Because of the scheduling changing, Donnie, right? They don't have the gauntlet anymore, though it would be nice to have, 18, 19 games against the Marlins, the Mets, or Washington, but not the case this year. I do think the Braves are the cream of the crop, but it's the Phillies you can't sleep on because we know come the end of the year, they'll be there.
I'll tell you what's wild, too. You see the Nationals at 120-1 price to win that division. But it's not like the Nationals this year. It's like, how did we get here for the Nationals? Rewind back to the teams that they had, which actually won a World Series without Bryce Harper. But put Bryce Harper on that team. You're talking about Soto, Harper, Rendon, Scherzer, Strasburg. And you just let those guys walk away one by one. It's amazing. Like, if you just kept that core together, which would have been incredibly expensive, but you would have just sold out every single night. You'd be on ESPN Baseball every night. You would have multiple World Series championships. It's crazy how a franchise that had it all is now just in the doldrums with basically no hope or no escape here at this point as it moves on. Let's quickly get to the NL Central. We don't need to worry about the West. It's the Dodgers, and more Dodgers. Cardinals plus 150, Cubs plus 220, Reds 4-1 here. Cardinals probably the most talented team, but I like what the Cubbies did in the offseason here, Joe.
Yeah, no, there's not. I mean, listen, they've invested money in some players. They're going to be competitive. Whether it works out, we're going to see. But the Reds are really the up-and-coming team. A lot of folks are getting behind. The Brewers are the Rays to me. Stop sleeping on the Brewers and acting as if they're only going to win 60 games, because they're not.
Yelich, MVP. You heard it here first. Because why? He's like the only good hitter they have. And if they are good, he can win the MVP.